And Rhode Island Representative Jim Langevin is the co-chair of the Congressional Cybersecurity Caucus. Representative Langevin, what's the purpose of this caucus?
Well, like any caucus, it's about bringing a group of like-minded members together that are concerned about a particular issue, in this case cybersecurity, and we collaborate together, but we also provide a forum to both groups on the Hill or off the Hill to come in and do presentations, educate members, and stand about a particular topic. Again, in this case, cybersecurity. So it's a great method and way for members and staff to collaborate.
And this is an issue, though, that you've worked on for quite a while. Why'd you get an interest in this?
So I kind of fell into this back around the 2007 time frame or so. I was chairing the subcommittee on the Homeland Security Committee that had jurisdiction over cyber. And we started doing a deep dive into cyber vulnerabilities. One of the big things that came to my attention was a vulnerability in what's called SCADA systems. And those are kind of the safety systems that govern pumps and valves on things like regulating turbines and such on the electric grid or water and sewage treatment facilities. And Idaho National Labs found a significant vulnerability that allowed a hacker to take control of SCADA systems and these safety systems and cause them to do things that would cause harm to the equipment. So, for example, in Idaho National Labs found a way to cause a generator, a turbine, to basically spin up out of control and blow itself up. They actually demonstrated that on a video that I and the committee saw, and then later it was released to a news publication, CNN, I believe it was at the time, and it showed how this generator blew itself up. So obviously it got our attention very quickly and started doing a deep dive to see, how significant are these vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, we found that they were significant then, they're significant now, and the threats clearly and the challenges are growing in cyberspace. It's not a problem that's ever going to go away, unfortunately.
And I'm sure you've seen the news reports recently about the cars that have been hacked while on the road, while driving.
I have.
Is the Congress, is the administration, are private businesses doing enough to protect us from hacking, from cybersecurity threats?
In my opinion, no. Not enough. And I would put it in context of this, that, as I said, this problem is never going to go away. It's a challenge that we are going to have to deal with for the long haul. The internet was never built or made with security in mind. It was this free and open architecture. And unfortunately, our enemies, our adversaries, hackers, have exploited these vulnerabilities for their own purposes. And it's made our society, our country that is probably more dependent than almost any other country in the world on the internet, has made us incredibly vulnerable. So I often say that the aperture of vulnerability is wide open, and what we need to do is we need to collapse it down to something that is much more manageable. Unfortunately, the Congress, which could be doing more, should be doing more, and I've been pushing us to do more, isn't doing enough. Because we haven't passed anything that's really meaningful that would make us safer, most important of which is the information sharing legislation that has passed the House now a couple of times, but we're still waiting for the Senate to get their act together, quite frankly, and pass their own information sharing bill and get something on the President's desk.
Dustin Volz.
Speaking of information sharing, Congressman, the Senate has indicated, Majority Whip John Cornyn has said that they would like to do it before they break for recess next month. It might come up in the coming weeks. Still, the differences in information sharing of the Senate bill are different than what the House passed, the companion bills earlier this year. Is there going to have to be some sort of conference to bring those together, or how do you see that proceeding if the Senate does pass its bill?
Well, that's what generally would happen. The House passes a bill, the Senate passes a bill, then they meet in a conference committee, work out the differences, and then there's an identical bill that goes back to both houses in identical form and is voted up or down. Hopefully, in this case, both houses will pass it. Then it goes to the President for a signature. So I look forward to getting to a conference. We haven't even gotten that far yet because the Senate hasn't even passed an information sharing bill. And for your viewers, just so they understand, the reason why information sharing is so important is that it allows us to communicate the threats back and forth, what government knows, what the private sector knows, and it allows us to patch systems or to prevent hacks before they actually could be carried out. Right now, there are legal prohibitions from the government sharing classified threat information with the private sector, and there's legal prohibitions from the private sector sharing information, threat information, back with the government. Otherwise, they'd be termed as acting as agents of the government, and that's not allowed. What we want to do is allow those barriers to be removed so that you could share information on threat signatures, very narrowly defined. So you're talking about ones and zeros, very technical type of information. But, you know, for example, of the various hacks that have taken place out there, if we could broadly share that information, then when one hack occurs at one place, hopefully at network speed, we could widely share that vulnerability and so more broadly protect everyone. Again, unfortunately, we haven't passed that legislation yet. That's why we need to pass it.
Are there privacy or liability concerns with this?
Sure. Oh, anytime you're dealing with, obviously, network security, cybersecurity, we have to be mindful of protecting privacy and civil liberties. And I place great value on that. We all should as American citizens. I believe, very confident, that the House bills, there was one out of the House Intelligence Committee and one that came out and passed out of the Homeland Security Committee, both of which with strong bipartisan support, had very strong privacy and civil liberties protections in there. The privacy and civil liberties community was consulted, was involved with the drafting, and for the most part have signed off. Nothing is ever perfect, but this is, I think, is almost as close as we can get to perfect, and I'm very proud to support it and very confident that there are strong privacy and civil liberties protections in there as well. And I'm sure that the Senate is going to be just as concerned, and when we meet in conference, we're going to make sure that those privacy and civil liberties protections are in there.
But still, some of the criticism from privacy advocates and security researchers is that the government sort of increasing its sharing of data that actually could backfire in a way, as we saw with the OPM hack, when you have so much data in one repository, that sort of allowing these places to hold more data could be a bad thing, and that information sharing wouldn't have actually prevented that hack.
Well, I don't believe that, and again, it's about the threat signatures or the zero-day exploits or the rootkit malware that would be used in the hack. Those are the things that we want to try to prevent in the first place, if not the malware itself. And by sharing that information, not the bulk data, but it's about the threat signatures. That's what we want to share more broadly.
Does the Senate bill need to do more to assuage privacy concerns?
I haven't seen the draft of the Senate bill yet. It hasn't been voted on the floor yet. So once they actually vote on something, then I can comment on it once I've had a chance to do a deep dive on it. But it seems like they're a long way from actually passing something on the floor. They've got to bring it up first, and they haven't. They tried to do it in the defense authorization bill as an amendment, but unfortunately Democrats didn't support it, which rightly so, because it wouldn't have allowed for any amendment to that bill, or had it been taken on as an amendment to the NDAA. So they need to bring it up as a standing bill. Let's amend it where necessary to make it stronger, better protect privacy and civil liberties concerns. Let's get something